Hello there and welcome to yesterday's Airlines. And in this video we're going to be taking another look at the new Aviation400 Airbus A380. Now I want to thank Aviation400 for once again sending me a sample of the A380. This is in fact the third sample of the A380 that I've received. If you check back through the videos you'll see that originally I got a resin sample and then I got one of the metal samples without the magnets fitted, but now we've got the very final version of the sample, which will be the model which is used for the actual releases. And this one comes not only with the magnetic landing gear which can be detached, but also with some other modifications to the mold that have been taken, I'd like to think, from Aviation400, having read the reviews that I've done previously of the 380, or maybe just from them doing their jobs properly. It's certainly nice to see, anyway, that manufacturers listen to collectors and listen to people who are doing the reviews and also adjust, gradually changing the molds as they are doing the samples, as opposed to just creating a sample and then flinging it out there into the marketplace. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take another look at this wonderful A380-800 which Aviation400 have done, illustrate how the magnetic landing gear work and the other small changes they've made to the mold to make it better. Okay, as always, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and check me out at yesterdaysairlines.com and also on Facebook at Yesterday Airlines and on Instagram at Yesterday Airlines, where I post a lot of material and different material for different sites. So to get the full selection of Yesterday's Airlines news and reviews about what's going on in 400 scale, check out all of those channels. But now what we'll do is we'll get on and have a look at the differences on the very final sample of the Aviation400 380. So the model you see in front of you here, the white sample, this was the sample I was sent earlier in the year, and it's quite handy because this one's white and the new latest sample is grey, so they're easy to tell apart. And I really liked the sample at the time. I generally thought it was excellent and very good, but there were a couple of small points that I wasn't overly happy with. One of them was the shape of the winglets, especially the top portion here, which I didn't think was 100% accurate and not quite sharp enough. And secondly, one of the other things I called out was the curve here on the pylon for this engine mount, which was in this version just a single curve down to meet the engine, whereas on the real thing it's got a more gradual profile and almost like two little humps. So they were two things which I called out on this sample, and from a look at the new version it does look like those things have been changed. So if I just take this off the stand and we have a look at the winglet here, you can see that at the top it's quite difficult to get it focused. Let's see if we can get it focused. That's probably about as good as we're going to get, I think. Then you can see at the top it's a little bit rounded almost, not particularly sharp, not particularly well formed. And if you look at the sample, the new sample, and look at the engines on that, then what I think we'll be able to see is, if I can bring it in, how much tighter and more angular the top of that winglet is. So I think that this is a much better representation of the winglet on the A380. You can see it focuses quite nicely there, and you can see that there's been some modification to the shape and it's a lot better than it was. So that's a real benefit. That's a really nice change which adds a little bit of value, I think, and improves the sample. So what an Aviation400. So the other thing that I called out, as I said a minute ago, was this curve on the engines. If we come and look at this outer engine, and again we need to get the camera to focus, then you can see here that it's got a curve here which just kind of curves straight down onto the pylon, and I don't think that is 100% accurate. So again, that was something that I called out in the original review. And if we move over to the new sample and look at that, then I think you'll see that it's got a much more gradual and different profile for that engine pylon there, which again I think is more accurate, more representative of the real thing. So those are positive little changes for the mold. Now, in other ways, I didn't really have a lot to complain about when it came to this mold, because frankly, I really liked it. If we kind of put it up on the plastic here and just have a look in detail across, I really liked it. So I thought the shape here was excellent. Now, one of the aspects of the mold that I really do like are the engines. You can see from the front that the fan blades are excellent. Sometimes Aviation 400 has not got the fan blades so nicely when they're trying to do spinning blades. Certainly on the A350, which is otherwise a great mold, the blades themselves are a bit thin, so you get the approach you can see through. But here you can see that the fans are really tightly in there, and they look really good. And you can also see it's a real challenge to do this, but you can also see that they do spin as well. If you get the them incorrectly, so they spin very nicely. Actually, they spin very easily, and that's really good. So really pleased with the detail there that they've been able to achieve, even though they've got these spinning fan blades. And what's especially good also is that even though you've got spinning fan blades, which necessitates a multi-part engine, you see that the seam here between the engine rims here and the engine nacelle main body is really tight. It's really well crafted. It's a super nice seam, much better than I've seen other manufacturers achieve when they try to add these kind of spinning fan blades and multi-part engines on. So that is superb. Something that I think AV400 has done really well here. And moving around to the front, I mean, I'm a big fan of the nose region on this mold. I think it looks really good. I'm really looking forward to seeing one with the cockpit printing and what it looks like there. So overall, I've got to say that the mold is excellent. I really like it. I think that AV400 have got a really killer A380 going on here, and I really like the detailing that's being shown. So no problems at all from a perspective of the mold in general. I really like the angle of the wings. Really like detailing here, and it'll look excellent when they've got the navigation beacons, which of course AV400 are famous for, on this mold too. So really superb. And if we flip her over to the underside, you can see again there's some really good detailing here. Really firm detailing, and really nice detailing here as well on the gear doors there. So overall, I think this is a great mold, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But of course, the thing that it also has, which has never been seen before in 400 scale, are these detachable magnetic landing gear. Although Dragon Wings did have detachable gear, they never had the ability to attach them with magnets. So this is taking a feature shown and found in 200 scale, moving it down to 400 scale, and I think that it's been really good. So let's look onto that, get into the gears. So the first thing I'll say about the landing gear on this A380 is that it's really well attached. Like, I can shake the model around, I can move it, and the gear isn't falling out. It's just as solid as if it were attached like it would in a normal 400 scale model. Really nicely attached. It's quite solid, and it's not going anywhere. So there's no problems, I feel, with the gear falling out and getting lost. The magnets really make that not a problem. And if I turn it over, you'll see how easy it is to attach and detach the gear. It simply is a case of just pulling it out. It's amazingly smooth. So you can see inside you've got the little magnet, and again on this side here, and they just plop in really nicely. If I get it in the hole. And similarly with the rear gear as well, I think that what we've got here is really good detailing on the undercarriage itself. You can see the gear legs here are great, and there's some really nice gear detail. You can see that the trucks pivot nicely. And similarly, again, you can see that they come out really easily if you want them out. Simple as that. And if you want them back in, it's just a case of popping them back in. Oh, get the gear the right way around. And they're in. And once they're in, they're not going anywhere. So that's really, really nice. I really like that feature, actually. And I think that's going to be really good. One minor criticism I will have of the landing gear, however, is the distance between the rear trucks on the main gear and the forward ones. I think that perhaps these rear ones do need to be, these ones here, slightly closer. And if you look at the A380 gear on a real aircraft, there's a slight amount of overlap between the tyres of the inner and outer gear, so perhaps not quite in the right position, but otherwise really, really good. So what I'm going to do now is just take these out and show you how easy it is to put in the gear so you can display your model with the undercarriage up. And once again, it's super easy to install. You've got the magnets on the bottom, you just plonk it in, and helps if you've got small fingers. There we go. And that one's in. I'll be a bit faster with this one, shall I? There we go, slots into place. And then we've got the inner gears as well. Oh, that one didn't want to sit. There we go. And the other one as well. And once again, those are not falling out, they're not going anywhere, the magnets hold them in nicely. And if we're going to do the same with the landing gear, to remove it, it's very simple. You literally just pull it out, no problems at all, and then find the piece that you need to put in place, which is again quite small. And then it's got these little legs on it. You just need to choose which way you want it round, and firmly it goes into place, no problem. And you'll see that each of these areas has got a little notch in it, so it's easy if you've got a pin or something like that just to flick it out and get rid of it. Just don't lose it, obviously. And similarly, if you go to the main gear, removing them is not difficult, just a case of having a pin, something that fits in the hole, lifting them out. There we go. Now I have to admit that it's unlikely that I'm ever going to really show the model with its gear up. I mean, I just don't really see the need for that myself. I personally would prefer to have the gear down. I really like the look of the landing gear, so that's what I'm likely to do with my version of these models. But it does give you that option to have gears up, which is a nice option. I really like how smoothly this just slots in there when you put it in. It's just delightful. In fact, that's the wrong way around. How smoothly it slots in, there we go. And the gear is back in again. And once again, you know, it's not going anywhere. It's really nice that it's a nice solid fit for the landing gear on this model. And of course the gear does roll too, just as you'd expect, though again, it's not really a feature, which means a great deal to me. What is interesting is the sheer number of Airbus A380 releases that have been coming out recently. I've already written about this at the website, so check that out. But there's been even more since I wrote the last blog post. And those extra ones have come from Aviation400. So let's have a quick look at what Aviation400 has announced thus far with its A380 mold, and see what we think about that. So I kind of get the feeling that Aviation400 has been burnt a little bit by all of the A380s that have been announced by other competitors in the last few weeks, with Phoenix and jcwings both announcing multiple sets of A380s. But now Aviation400 themselves are fighting back, and they've announced I think it's 11 A380s now, so a really impressive number. And let's go through those and just check out what we've got. So first up, we've got the Aviation Retail Direct official release or exclusive release, the ARD4 BA09, which is a British Airways Airbus A380 GXLEG. So this is one which is only currently available from Aviation Retail Direct in the UK. It'll be interesting to see if it gets out to a wider audience. I would expect it probably will. Next up, they've announced a pair of Singapore Airlines A380s. We've got 9V SKI wearing the 50th anniversary Singapore colours, and we've got 9V SKA wearing the original and standard scheme. Then we've got Lufthansa wearing the original colours DAIMA. And the model which I'm most excited by, because I like Chinese airliners, China Southern B6136. And actually I did get to Guangzhou once on a transit back to the UK between New Zealand, and I did see several of these A380s and they look excellent. I love this scheme. Then we've got Qatar Airways, which is probably one of the least expiring schemes on the A380. And Korean Air, HL7612. The Korean scheme looks good on most aircraft. Now the next models that Aviation400 has just announced are Malaysia Airlines. And we've got this aircraft, 9M NNF, wearing the 100th A380 special stickers. And also a second Malaysia Airlines A380 as well, and this one is wearing the standard scheme 9M MNE. And they have also just announced another two, and that is the Lufthansa DAIMC wearing the new colours, so that matches the release which Phoenix have also announced. And Asiana as well from Korea, HL7626. It's a little unclear when all of these A380s are going to hit the market. Quite a few of them seem to be scheduled for around July time. However, I would certainly, personally, be waiting for these over the Phoenix and jcwings editions. Personally, I think this mould is looking like it's probably the best. And I really like the detail that Aviation400 are going to add. I think the engine detailing looks spectacular. The detachable landing gear, love it or hate it, I mean, it's a really cool feature, and it actually works really nicely on the model itself. And of course, you're going to have the nav beacons. So there we have it. That's another quick look at the Aviation400 A380, which is coming up. I hope you're excited by that. I know lots of people complaining about, oh, do we need another A380? But clearly, lots of the model manufacturers see this as a core market. They clearly think it's going to sell, or they wouldn't be making them. And the jcwings and Phoenix reaction to the AV400 mold has been quite telling, I think. They're clearly concerned that this A380 is going to eat into their profits, and they should be, because this looks like an excellent mold, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these getting released. Even though the A380 isn't a key component of my collection, I really appreciate this mold. I really appreciate the craft and detail that's gone into it, and I'm looking forward to picking up at least the China Southern version and maybe some others as well. So for me, I think this is going to be a great model. I hope you've enjoyed the video. As always, check out my channels. Keep an eye out for yesterday's Airlines. More of this sort of thing coming along soon. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. See you next time.